Dr. Hovind, I love your doctoral thesis. I've torn it to pieces with house and gaffle. I can't remember when I last pissed myself laughing. It's a good thing the thesis mopped the piss off the floor.
Welcome to part 26 of this read-through and peer review of Kent Hovind's doctoral dissertation, which was published on wikileaks.org on December the 9th, 2009. If you have not yet seen the previous installments of this series, then I recommend that you go back and see those first, as in this episode I will be starting off exactly where I left off in the last. In the last episode, Kent quote-mined the hell out of Darwin and Huxley to prove that they were both racist fiends. Nothing could be further from the truth. In this episode, Kent continues about Huxley. Kent meanders on. Huxley is the grandfather of two men who were also famous in evolutionary circles today. Were famous? Shouldn't that be are famous? Never mind. Sir Julian Huxley and Aldous Huxley. Thomas Huxley had been witness to on several occasions. Yes, Kent, you're going about your business, you're doing your shopping, and then somebody comes up and asks you the time, and before you know it, they're launching into some diatribe about Jesus. It almost makes you sad that we live in such a civilized era. I mean, when this happened back in ancient Roman times, and one of these morons said, have you heard the good news? You could always reply, yes, I hear the lions are hungry. But that's just my opinion. I'm sure Huxley was an astute man, Kent, and therefore, regardless of how many times he was witness to, I'm sure he still thought it was bullshit. Anyhow, let's carry on. Here is one quote from the Encyclopedia of Illustrations. Hash, presumably page or illustration or number, 6230, entitled Huxley's Sunday Talk by J.B. Dengis. A friend of mine was once on a parliamentary commission with Professor T.H. Huxley. They happened to stay at a little country inn over Sunday. Huxley said to my friend, I suppose you are going to church this morning. I am. I always go to church. I know you do, said Huxley, but suppose this morning you sit down and talk with me about religion. Simple experimental religion. I will, said my friend, if you mean it. They sat down together, and my friend, out of a deep and rich experience, told him of the cross of Christ and pardoning love, and after 3 hours tears stood in Huxley's eyes, and he put out his hand and said, if only I could believe that, I would be willing to give my right hand. What do you call that but intellectual imprisonment? Kent, we are going to presume that, from the account, Huxley was indeed bored to tears. We are going to presume that Huxley sat for a full 3 hours and listened to the narrator's friend prattle on and on and on, providing absolutely no evidence for his fairy story whatsoever. I mean, Huxley's own words are very telling. The fact that he just couldn't bring himself to believe it. In very much the same way that, no matter how compelling the story is and how much I want to, I can just not bring myself to believe that Harry Potter is real. And as for what I'd call it, well, for starters, a waste of 3 hours that Huxley will never have got back. And as for intellectual imprisonment, well, I'm sure somebody was intellectually imprisoned. But I'm sure the viewers and readers of your dissertation will agree it's not necessarily the person that you think it is. But we continue. The next individual on our journey through the history of evolution is Ernest Haeckel. He was born in 1834 and died in 1919. Ah yes, Ernst Haeckel. I wondered when you was going to bring him up. Let's hear what you have to say, eh, Kent? He was a German biologist and philosopher. He developed the biogenetic law, or the recapitulation theory. This theory teaches that the human embryo inside the mother's womb goes through the different stages of evolution, from fish to reptile to mammal to human. Kent, you may not want to believe this, but humans are mammals. Humans are primates, which is an order within a suborder, within a group, within a clade, of the class of vertebrates known as mammals. But then Kent goes on. Continuing on about Haeckel's work, Kent comments that this has long since been disproven. Yes, Kent, it has. That's the way that science works. If an idea does not stand up to the evidence, then it's pushed aside. But anyway, it is now known that there is no recapitulation. Yes, Kent, that's correct, but it doesn't stop you using Ernst Haeckel's drawings and theories as an argument against modern evolution, though, does it, Kent? It's as though you and your ilk are the only ones that actually take that old, disproven theory serious in any way, shape or form. But anyway, Kent then goes on to make a wild, sweeping statement. This theory is used for the justification for abortion. Kent, there are many things that are used to justify abortion. That excuse is not one of them. You say yourself it has been disproven, so why on earth would they still use it to justify something like that? But anyway, Kent continues. The human embryo, the abortionists say, is not fully human yet, and it is okay to kill it because it hasn't yet reached the human stage. Kent, I've already explained this to you. You've already contradicted your own argument. But Kent goes on. I'm not saying that abortion started with evolution. No, Kent. Abortion started with the first miscarriage, which of course would make your God the biggest abortionist of all. But hey, I'm saying that evolution does serve to give in the abortionist mind some scientific justification to abortion. Kent, I'm not willing to be drawn into the abortion argument. Less to say, though, that there are some circumstances, ectopic pregnancy for instance, where abortion is actually essential to save the life of the mother. I will, however, make an observation. I am a man and will never have to choose whether or not to have an abortion. And the church and religion in general is generally run by men who will also never have to have that choice. They'll never have that dilemma. It won't be their life at risk. So I have to ask Kent, as one man to another, what scientific justification in your mind do you have for banning abortion?